Greetings to all the learners. Welcome to CEC lecture. The topic of analysis is International Cooperation and Global Governance, looking at the case study of G20. In this lecture, we shall analyze how G20 plays an important role with reference to being a forum for international cooperation, how the various summits and meetings of G20 have a bearing with reference to international relations and global governance. In this lecture, we shall analyze on the important role and events that have been there with respect to formulation and evolution of G20. We shall also look at the important topic within this broader framework, that is of India and G20, in order to elaborate further on our discussion with respect to understanding important issues of global governance. We take reference to this very important work by Marek Rzyzewski, From Washington to St. Petersburg, Development of G20 as a New Center of Global Governance. The work was published in the year 2014. Now, as we open up this book, we get some very interesting insights. That is, no doubt in this contemporary world, there are increasing risks of crisis. What happens here is, in the second half of the first decade of the 21st century, economic and financial crisis, that is eruption of which in 2007, it shattered the foundations of the global economy. Within this context, new international cooperation club that was existing since 2008, where top level representatives of systematically significant countries met, they authorized to make decisions which were of key importance for the international community. Now, looking at this context, it's very essential that this time of formation, that is for the bigger picture also, that there is a need to acknowledge, to include emerging powers within the framework of global economic governance. Herein we see there is a forum for dialogue between the states and non-state entities in the sphere of global governance. This is G20, the group of 20. The G20 is an informal group of 19 countries of the world and the European Union, with representatives of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. When we look at the genesis of the G20, it's very essential to look at the contemporary world history also. After the Asian financial crisis, 1997-1998, it was acknowledged that participation of major emerging markets countries, it is needed on discussions on with respect to international financial system, and G7 finance ministers agreed to establish G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting in 1999. G20 membership, when we go by the data that we get from G20.org website, it comprises a mix of world's largest advanced as well as emerging economies. Now, when we look at it from a representational point of view, this represents 2/3 of world's population, 85% of global gross domestic product, 80% of global investment, and over 75% of global trade. The members of G20, when we read them in the alphabetical order, Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Republic of Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, United Kingdom, United States and the European Union. We have this very important work by John J. Curtin, that is G20 Governance for a Globalized World. It was published in 2016 by Routledge. Now, when we look at this book, we get some very important arguments that we can use for the purpose of deliberations and analysis for the lecture. This book presents important information with respect to preparation, negotiation, performance and achievements of G20 gatherings from their start at the financial level, that was in 1999, through their rise to become leader level summits in response to great global financial crisis in 2008. When we go by the various arguments and inputs presented by this book, it presents a very specific insight, that is with respect to international theory model. G20's governance and performance has indeed increased over time. It has successfully governed an increasingly interconnected, complex, crisis-ridden, globalized 21st century world. The first 4 summits, when we take reference to the various research and findings that this book presents to us, the first 4 G20 summits, that is from Washington to Toronto, the summaries of the ensuing summits that the book presents, they give us an important insight. That is how this forum has played an important role to contain the worst global recession since the Great Depression of the 1930s. Now, G20 work, as we are deliberating further with respect to work of G20, it is divided into 2 tracks. The first, finance track, comprising all meetings with G20 finance ministers and central bank governors and their deputies. Meeting several times throughout the year, they focus on monetary and fiscal issues, financial regulation, amongst others. The Sherpa track, that focuses on broader issues, which are they? Political engagement, anti-corruption, development, energy, amongst others. Each G20 country is represented by its Sherpa. Now, Sherpa is someone who plans, guides, implements, etc. on behalf of the leader of their respective country. The G20 presidency, it rotates annually according to a system that ensures a regional balance over time. Now, it is very essential to understand, as we are understanding dynamics of international cooperation, wherein we all acknowledge that G20's deliberation have played an important role. When we are looking at global governance, we all see that over the period of time, G20's leaders' summits have become very important. G20, however, does not have a permanent secretariat or headquarters. Instead, the G20 president is responsible for bringing together the G20 agenda in consultation with other members and in response to the developments in the global economy. Troika, now this is very important with reference to G20, that is every year when a new country takes on the presidency, it works in hand with the previous presidency and the next presidency. Let's take an example. In 2018, the presidency of G20 was with Argentina. So, it works in hand with the previous presidency, that was Germany in 2017 and the next presidency, Japan 2019. So, this is collectively known as Troika. And why it is very important to understand that this ensures continuity and consistency of the group's agenda. Now, we all know, as we've taken reference to academic work as well as with respect to important data from various world governance issues, G20 also has its challenges. What are the challenges confronting G20? Firstly, there is no enforcement mechanism. There is no peer review. And then, declarations are not legally binding. The declarations of G20 are advisory or like a consultative group. Now, over a period of time, as we all know that the agenda and the realm of global governance is multifaceted, it is contested, it is complex. So, G20 has also witnessed new blocks. The G20 developing nations, also called G21, G23 or G20 plus. It is a bloc of developing nations which was established on 20th August 2003. Now, this is distinct from G20 major economies. We must take into account that G20 plus as an important bloc of developing nations, it originated in September 2003 at the 5th Ministerial Conference of the WTO held at Cancun, Mexico. Its origins can be traced to the Brasilia Declaration signed by the foreign ministers of India, Brazil and South Africa on 6 June 2003. The G20 plus is also very important because it is responsible for 60% of world population, 26% of world's agricultural exports and 70% of its farmers. Now, with this, we must understand that how over a period of time G20 has become important, and we will look at the dynamics of global governance with respect to India and G20. At the 2020 summit, we take reference to the remarks made by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi attending the 15th G20 summit via video conferencing. Taking reference to the speech of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there was a call for new global index for the post-corona world that comprises 4 key elements: creation of a vast talent pool, ensuring that technology reaches all segments of the society, transparency in the system of governance, and dealing with Mother Earth with the spirit of trusteeship. Based on this, the G20 can lay the foundation of the new world, the address said. Once again, quoting from the address, in the past few decades, while there has been an emphasis on capital and finance, the time has come to focus on multi-skilling and reskilling to create a vast human talent pool. This would not only enhance dignity of citizens, but would also make our citizens more resilient to face crisis. We were quoting from the report presented at livemint.com with reference to the address of Indian Prime Minister at the 15th G20 summit via video conferencing. So, what we get here is that at this forum, India called for a new global index post-corona world. And this global index, the new global index, what will be based on? It will be based on the 4 pillars. First, talent. Second, technology. Third, transparency. Fourth, trusteeship towards the planet. Now, when we look at the 2019 G20 summit, there are 2 very important events that we can focus on in order to understand that how India has used the G20 forum to underline and elaborate on important issues of global governance as well as dynamics that have a bearing with respect to the bigger picture of international cooperation. We take reference to the occasion of informal BRICS leaders meeting at Osaka, that was during the G20 2019 summit, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted major challenges. What were the challenges? Namely, recession and uncertainty in the world economy, unilateral decisions and rivalries that are overshadowing rule-based, multilateral, international trade systems, lack of resources, shortage of investment for emerging market economies, making development and process inclusive and sustainable, rapidly changing technologies such as digitization and climate change, how they are concerns not just for us but also for the future generations, development in the right direction when it reduces inequality and contributes to empowerment. Third, terrorism, that is the immediate need to strengthen WTO, fighting protectionism, ensuring energy security and work together to fight terrorism. Once again, we present you these points with reference to the various news reports that we got from PTI and the Financial Express, pointing towards the important deliberations that happened at the G20 2019 summit in Osaka, wherein India presented some very important perspectives with respect to challenges confronting global governance. Now, when we are talking about the G20 2019 summit, it is very essential to talk about that India refused to sign the declaration on the Osaka track. India, South Africa, Indonesia demanded that negotiations on e-commerce, digital trade must be conducted on the basis of the 1998 work program. India, South Africa, Indonesia opposed the plurilateral negotiations on digital trade, saying that they strike at the very roots of multilateral negotiating process based on arriving at decisions by consensus. Further, India, amongst many countries today, have stressed on data localization, that is, data as a new form of wealth, and therefore there is a need to take into account the requirements of developing countries. Now, with respect to the 2018 summit, India presented some once again very important ideas with respect to deliberations, and at the G20 2018 summit, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the announcement at the closing ceremony of 13th G20 summit in Buenos Aires on 1st December 2018, that is, India will host the annual G20 summit in 2022, coinciding with the country's 75th anniversary of independence. We all know that in 2023, India will be having the presidency of the G20. With respect to G20 2018 summit, India pointed out that there is a need to focus on empowerment on women. We must look at ways to boost economic growth. India highlighted the country's efforts such as Jan Dhan Yojana, Mudra Yojana, Startup India that are aimed at furthering the idea of all-round development. With reference to G20 2018 summit, India also addressed the issue of escalating trade tensions, the collateral damage it has caused to the least developed countries and other emerging economies. India highlighted and stressed that the price stability of crude oil, because any instability in crude prices such as, it causes a lot of pressure, especially on domestic economies to adapt their economic policies because of price fluctuations. India pointed out that there is a need for carrying out reforms in World Trade Organization and fully implement and operationalize the various aspects of the 11-point agenda against terrorism, which was issued as a part of the Hamburg Declaration. Now, dear learners, as we are deliberating on international cooperation and global governance, looking at G20, we take reference to another very important work in order to add more to our arguments and present more insights so that you can incorporate them in your research papers, in your answers, amongst others. There is very important work by Stephen Slaughter, The Power of the G20, Politics of Legitimacy in Global Governance. The work is from Routledge 2020. The work points out that as an apex forum of global governance that seeks to be an overall coordinating forum to address global problems, G20's power, G20 has indeed definitely been there as an important actor. However, we all know that there are challenges, but G20's power can be legitimate, as this work points out, despite a range of considerable challenges and the limits. Dear learners, we all know that how today realities of global governance and global issues, they are confronted by huge amount of complexity as well as issues that have multifaceted accounts. World is confronted by risk of complexity of global challenges. In order to ensure a national interest which is holistic, in order to work towards future which is sustainable, based on equity, accessibility, it is essential that we must have intensive efforts with extensive cooperative agenda and cooperation. Seen in this framework for the various national governments, G20 is indeed a very useful forum. We all know that how over a period of time G20 has evolved. It has pointed towards issues that have a bearing with reference not only to the macroeconomy but also its agenda being drawn in consultation with other members and in response to the various developments that have a bearing with reference to not only global economy but also for the bigger picture of global governance. For example, climate change, health, working out collaborative mechanisms in the post-COVID world. The G20 has indeed focused on these issues. There are important challenges of governance that are there with respect to G20, enforceability, peer review, amongst others. However, regardless of this, by factoring in participation of major emerging market countries, G20 has indeed ensured that its discussions are not only with respect to international financial system but also with reference to issues concerning dynamics of international cooperation and global governance. We hope the lecture presented to you significant inputs and insights. We look forward to positive, encouraging feedback from you all. Thank you very much.